South Carolina at Texas A&M. Texas A&M still undefeated, having one of the more impressive years, and they have an argument to be the best team in college football. We'll see if the playoff committee agrees with that, but right now they are playing a good style of football that's been very fun for them. They've had players step up in a big way, and that's kind of been the big thing for Texas A&M this year. Texas A&M was a team that had some questions. Quarterback was a question. Wide receiver was a question. Defensive line was a question. All three of those positions have elevated their games higher than they were the year before. Marcel Reed has taken huge steps in his development as a passer. He's been a dynamic player, and it's not that he's just a dual threat that got a little bit better. He's been very confident and making a lot of impressive throws as a quarterback. He's been that good. That's a very exciting player to watch, and really another guy that you just have to worry about with Texas A&M. We knew the rushing attack was going to be fine. We knew that the running backs were good and Marcel Reed was good. But what Reed did as a passer was always going to be a question. Now, the other question with that is, what were the wide receivers going to look like? You had Mario Craver coming in, but I don't think a lot of people expected him to have the role that he did. Casey Concepcion, people expected big things from him. And so far this year, he has delivered. He has been as expected. The thing with this group is Mario Craver has exceeded expectations. Leading the team in receiving, he's been explosive. And early in the year, when they had a little bit more to figure out and maybe there were some more struggles, he was a player that stepped up in a massive way. He made some big time plays. He kept drives alive. He extended drives, and he was a big reason why they remained undefeated. Now this team has figured things out. They appear to be playing with good chemistry, and they are a tough team to stop. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, the defensive line had a question. You lost 3 NFL draft picks, and people naturally were wondering, what is this defensive line going to do? How disruptive can they be? Cassius Howell was a guy that people knew, but they didn't expect him to do big things. Even in Aggie land, I think people had questions about, okay, what is our defensive line going to look like? What are we going to do? And Texas A&M just said, well, don't worry about it. We're fine. We got it. Cassius Howell lived up to the hype. And there wasn't that much hype. I think people saw his potential. I think that people saw his upside, but they didn't think, oh, this is going to be our next superstar at defensive line. This is a guy that's going to lead us to where we want to be. And he has done that and more this year. And the defensive line as a whole has played really well. And you have to give Mike Elko credit for that. You knew that he was going to fix some things. You knew that what he saw last year was not acceptable based off some of the comments he made, some of the things that he said. You knew that he was expecting bigger and better things for this Texas A&M defense. And they have delivered. Now, do they have their flaws? Yes, there are some things that obviously need to get sorted out, but they are much better than they were last year. The defensive line is a huge reason for that. The secondary has been playing really well. I don't think we talk about them nearly enough because the defensive line has been playing so well. But Will Lee is very good. That secondary has been disruptive. They've created turnovers, and they've been really tough to throw the ball on. Now, they do have a tough player to guard in Nick Harbor in this game, but you have so much confidence that this team will figure that out. And so far, teams have figured out South Carolina's offense. They have figured out that, hey, this offensive line is not going to give Lenore Sellers time to throw, and that's a great matchup for Texas A&M to exploit. Now, Lenore Sellers is still very talented. The problem is that he's struggling mightily. He is not taking the steps that people expected him to take. Marcel Reed is doing what people thought Lenore Sellers was going to do this year. And it's not that Lenore Sellers doesn't have it in him. It's just that this offense has been so bad at times, and the offensive line is not giving him any time to throw. Some of that is on him. Some of that is he's just got to find ways to develop. But this is a guy who clearly has the talent to potentially make strides like this, and he just hasn't. There's been a number of things that's not all on him. But I'm curious to see what is his future with this program. What is his future as a quarterback? What does that look like? Because people were talking about him as a potential number 1 overall pick coming into this year, and he's looked anything but. That is a big concern, and it's really on Shane Beamer to hire the right offensive coordinator for next year. You have to find someone that's going to be able to develop Lenore Sellers, assuming that he stays. right? Maybe he's looking elsewhere. I don't think that's the case, but there's always that question, unfortunately, in college football now. If someone's not living up to the hype, not meeting expectations, where are they going to go next? That's always a question people ask. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think that he is very much happy with being at South Carolina. It just comes down to putting him in a better position. This team's way too talented to be 3-6, plain and simple. And I think Shane Beamer's still a good head coach. I don't have any concerns about him being able to do it. I don't have to worry about my feelings or second guess my feelings about Shane Beamer as a head coach. I think he's a good head coach. This has just been a tough year. I don't think you go from having the year they did last year to just all of a sudden not knowing how to coach. I don't think that is a thing you have to worry about with Shane Beamer. So this is going to be an interesting test for this South Carolina team on the road. What do they show to keep their competitive juices going? What do they show to us? That's a big question. Because Texas A&M is in a great position to win football games. They are a consistent team. They are tough to stop offensively. They're tough to block defensively. They're 18.5-point favorites. And it just is easy to pick Texas A&M right now. I think that's where you have to go. I think that's where this game is going. But there are still things to keep track of with South Carolina. There are still storylines to follow. And whether or not they show any sort of fight might be a big question for them going into this game.